That's enough. That's enough of that shit. How you doing, friends? It's the guy with his head that's always cut off. Uncle Larry. The Starship Trooper from Northeast Ohio. How's it going out there? Lovely Tuesday, the day following Monday Night Football. Interesting, there was two games last night. There was a game that everybody wanted to watch, and then another game. And man, I don't know for anybody that watched that Bucks-Ravens game, man, it was brutal. Even if you're not a football fan, you should tune in for a second. Watch the gruesome display of wasted careers in that game. You know, Baker Mayfield, love him. Former Cleveland Brown quarterback, you know, great competitor, great talent. The only thing that separates him from the truly greats is the fact that he always throws the picks at the most crucial moment. His whole career plagued him. And I know a lot of you football fans out there were cringing like I was when poor Chris Godwin had a probably career-ending injury in garbage time in the last minute of a lost game. There was no chance. He shouldn't even have been out there. And man, that was brutal to watch. If you're not a football fan, I'll get off of this in a second and we'll get back to some guitar, but man, that was brutal. This is a weird one. Three, 7, 3, 3, 3, 3. As I was watching those games last night, I just sat on the couch and just played this guitar endlessly, unplugged. And I thought to myself, wow, I wouldn't change one atom of this neck shape. Like, you know how we're all searching for the perfect neck shape in our minds? Everyone's got a little different take on that. Some people like big necks, small necks, this and that. Some people like V-necks. Some people don't like V-necks. But this right here, it's a mild V, medium profile, classic 50s, mid-50s Fender. This guitar is a 53, but this neck shape feels more 55, 56 to me, to be honest. You know, I've noticed the arc of the profiles changing over the years on different guitars. And if somebody handed me the blindfold and said, what year is this neck? I would say 55, 56. But it's a blackguard, and usually blackguards have clubbier necks, and sometimes they have very thin necks. They're all over the shop. Blackguards are, every one of them is completely different. And to be honest, most of them I don't like. The neck profiles are strange. But by the mid-50s, when they went to the white guards, the necks got better. The profiles did, in my humble opinion. But this has the best of both worlds. It's got the blackguard look with the flat pole pickup and the mid-50s feeling neck profile, and it's super lightweight. I got a feeling this is going to be a daily driver, but I got to sort out one thing. It kills on every level except the bridge pickup is too weak and dark. And I feel like it needs to be remagnetized. And if that doesn't work, I'm going to try that. And if that doesn't work, I'm going to disconnect it from the tone control. The wiring on this guitar is all the parts are there, but it's already been monkeyed with a bit to turn it to what you'd call quote-unquote modern wiring. Too dark. Here's the tone control all the way up. close, but it's not there. It's got a sweetness to its tone, but it's just not loud enough. And I've got it jacked up a good bit there, more than I usually like to put them up. So I just think it's weak magnet, which happens on these. I mean, this thing's only what, fucking 70 years old. That's the only time you'll ever see me do that. The most overused R&B lick in the history of man. When you're on a session and somebody that's like just average guitar player, when they start playing anything that's R&B, and somebody goes, they go, oh God, I hate that. Ugh. There are certain things in guitardom that Uncle Larry has just had it with, and that is one of them. Oh. Yes, that lick works. Yes, it works. It works too much. Let's not do that one anymore, friends. There's other things too. Old school guitar session things that drive me up a wall. Like, guitar players are predisposed somehow to, all of a sudden when the second verse happens, they start chugging eighth notes to add momentum. Yes, it's worked on a lot of albums, a lot of records, but to just go to that, the first verse is usually a little more open and dreamy of a song, and then by the second verse you want to sort of add a little momentum, and everyone's always like, oh man, you will never catch me on my worst day doing that, ever. These are just little things that I've decided. I'm never, in this thing, the tenths, you know, it's on every R&B or pop song. Come on, girl. And it's always got a loop where you can hear the sample noise in it, you know. Oh. I'm not doing that anymore either. That's off the list. So I had drove Leo to school this morning, and I was just having this, you know, I always cry. I cry all the time. Just thinking about how fleeting life is. Have you seen that Sylvester Stallone documentary? It's on Netflix, where he talks about, if you haven't seen that, you should watch it. I'm not saying it's the greatest thing in the world. I think this is the second time I've mentioned this on the show. But he talks about how life, he goes, you know, when you're on a train car and you're going real fast and you see the windows on both sides of the train, you just see stuff blowing by, like the trees and landscapes. You pass by this stuff, and then seconds later, it's gone forever. It's so far in the past, and it just happened. I mean, this is how life is. You know, we all know this. This is no secret. But man, you know, I was looking back on my sweet boy in the backseat. He's 8 years old now, and I was thinking, man, he's gonna wake up tomorrow and be 16. And he's gonna wake up and be 30. Ugh. You know, it just goes like that. It just goes like that. And I said to him, you know, the key to life, boy, is just trying to hold on to these moments when they happen. Whenever something good happens, you know, something that you like, just try to soak in it as much as you can, because it'll be gone as fast as it came, and that's it, right? That's just the way it goes. Kids probably don't get that concept, though. They probably don't understand that. They shouldn't. They're kids. Oh, girl. Why'd you do that to me? It's in the summer day. It's in the moon to make. That's a bait. This ain't the did it, folks. Bait. Oh, girl. Yeah. So, let's see, I had a fun day yesterday. I worked on at Dan Auerbach's studio all day yesterday, which is, as a player, probably one of my favorite sessions, because Dan just lets me have full creative license. Just like, if you hear something, go do it. Play whatever instrument you want. Play anything. Man, I think people have realized that I was just talking about this with somebody today. Like, being totally creative is my happy place. Like, I got a million thoughts going on in my head when I'm working on a record. A million thoughts going through my head. And like, I hear things, and when someone just says, "Man, just go do it, go do it," I get excited, I get into it, I just start creating, and like, they just sit back, and they don't have to like all of it, but if they realize that that's the best way to let me work. If somebody starts trying to close me down, and like, I shut down, and those are usually the guys that really, the producers that will do that to you. I was just saying this to a friend of mine today. We were just talking about this. The producers that try to close players down are usually the guys that really want to play everything themselves anyway. And as soon as they get the tracks back home, they mute everything you did so they can play it themselves. That's kind of where everything's headed. All these producers are like track guys that are like musicians that goof around on all the different instruments, and they really just want to play the bass part themselves, the guitar parts themselves. And they'll suffer through a session with a pro session player, but really in the end, they're probably going to mute you and do it themselves anyway. Those are the guys that try to shut you down and try to make you play exactly what's on the demo, and et cetera, et cetera. I've done plenty of those gigs in my life, but I've kind of reached this point where I just want to be creative. I don't need the money anymore to sit and track, with some fucking numbnuts to learn this part. Girl, do the city in the bone, stand, it's about to downtown, said the day, outside the bottom, then they put it in, stitch, and stitch, So, let's see, some guy emailed me, he said, "Hey, I'm sorry about my bad English, I'm from Brazil, but I'm in my 20s. What would you tell a guy in his 20s to work on if you want to be a session player?" And I've heard that question a million times. We've all heard that question, and it's just, that's like saying, there's so much to learn that trying to put it into a sentence would be ridiculous. It'd be like saying to Barry Sanders, "What should I be working on if I want to run the football like you, Barry?" The thoughts, there's just so much of a learning curve. Like how would Barry even explain? Well, first of all, you step to the left, and I just said to him, if the goal of being a session player is you're trying to make great sounding records, right? Let's just start with that. You got to learn how to make great sounding records. And so what I would suggest is that you go and listen closely, very, very closely, to a million of the greatest records ever made in all genres, right? New and old. Study the shit. Learn whatever parts stick out to you, and try to capture that attitude and energy and that spirit and soul and that sound. Like, we're basically just regurgitating and conjuring emotions of stuff that we already know. This is what we do. This is what sessions are. So find some of those great old records or great new records, whatever they are, and just really zone in on what somebody was doing. Like anything. It could be any genre. It could be a fucking Boston record. It could be Al Green. It could be fucking Miley Cyrus. It could be anything. Just zone in on what's good about it and try to picture yourself playing that part and coming up with that part. Like, why did the person do that? And that's you know, that's what you should be working on. It's not a matter of some mechanical technique thing. It's not that at all. Because that's not what anybody wants you to do. They want you to come up with something creative. Like, I was thinking yesterday, you know, when Arbog hires me, he wants me to paint. Like, go in there and fucking paint something awesome. Listen to the song. I've already got most of it done. Just add some cool shit. That's what they want you to do. Hard part's there. It's already done. The song's written. It's got a cool vocal on it, you know, cool groove. Just add some flavors to this to make it interesting. And how do you teach somebody that? You can't. It's like, I basically just assembled a trick bag of things that have worked for me over the last 30-some years. And I remember them all. And like, I remember like, you know, for example, they just hit me. Like, we're working on this song yesterday, and I said, the bridge needs something. And I just said, you know, this is just one of a million examples, you know. I just said, here, I'm going to play a couple licks, and you just flip it around backwards on the Pro Tools, you know. So the bridge was like A major 7, A flat major 7, you know, something. And I just started playing a couple licks, standard licks, and I said, flip them around backwards. And man, little things like that came back through the speakers, and it was like fucking cool, man. Like, there's a zillion of those decisions that need to be made every day in the studio. And like, the freer you get creatively, mentally, draw from everything you've ever heard. Don't just think of it, that particular genre. Draw from everything you've ever heard, you know, and try to implement that stuff into what you're doing, you know. And I'm not just thinking about guitar parts. I think about everything. I think about vocals. I think about bass parts, keyboard parts, you know, string arrangements, all this shit. It all comes to me. Like, and like this, I'm not alone. This happens to everybody. Like, all the people that do this for real, they all have these musical thoughts. And it's just a matter of being able to capture them and present them on the tape the way that you hear them in your head. That's the hardest part about being a session player, is you might have the thought and you hear this thing in your head, but learning how to actually get it on tape is the fucking hard part. I consider that to be the logistical thing. Like even when I was very young and I had zero studio experience, I would hear it in my head what I wanted it to be. I just didn't know how to make it sound like that. I didn't know what amp to use, what fucking guitar to use, or how to put the mics, or anything, or even how to play it. I just heard it. And then over time, I've figured out how to capture those things in my head, like literally capture them exactly as I'm hearing them in my head on tape. And that is just, it comes from years of experience. You can't teach that. I think, you know, I come up with a vision for something, and I hear it like it's already on the tape. And I just got to go fish out how to make it sound like that on the record, you know. And sometimes it's very complicated. Sometimes you think it's going to be easy. Oh, I hear this part. I'm going to grab this guitar and this amp, and you go out and it doesn't sound anything like that. And you're like, oh shit, what do I got to do now? This is all pretty obtuse stuff I'm talking about here. And for guys that just playing in their bedroom, none of it matters. It doesn't matter at all. I'm sort of speaking more to the people who really want to be session guys right now at this moment. I notice everything. Like, I notice like when you, if you just plug a guitar into an amp and you barely turn the volume up, like this. That's a very unique sound. Like, if you were trying to do something super old school, and you went in the studio and you played a solo like that, that's super doinky, and then you turn it way up, or compress it with a really nice compressor, it could be the most interesting sound on the record. Like, it's things like that, like approaches, you know, is what you're trying to find. And I just say, remember, like, when you're working in the studio and you do something cool that you think sounds cool, just remember how you did it. Remember what was happening and how you did it, so that you could possibly use it again in the future. Because these are helpful little things, right? Tools for the tool bag. I looked up and the camera wasn't rolling this whole time? How dumb would I feel? Anyway, off to work today, friends. I'm going to try to get this Bread Papa stuff finished up. I'm going to do a couple days of shooting those videos to get the canon of videos we've been trying to build up for a secret little paid subscription deal. We're getting close. I'm not going to give you any kind of dates or anything, but we're getting close. Trip to Witch, I wanted to tell you, we just restocked a bunch of merch. For those of you who want to get some cool fall Trip to Witch merch, you can check that out on the... Just type in, I think it's on Bandcamp. It's all on Bandcamp, all that shit. All right, friends, enjoy this fall weather. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.